you. All right. So, Meadow, are you there?
I am there. No, I'm
You are
here. I'm
you are
here.
there and you are here. Right. Okay. Listeners, welcome back. We had a brief outage, but as you can tell, the engineering team were on it and we got it sorted really quickly. So all that's left now really is to welcome Meadow Ellis to Bearcon One. So hi Meadow.
Hi, Meadow. Hi, beer farmers. Very
Good
nice to
evening.
be here. I'm very happy to have been invited by you to this
Well,
conference.
it's our pleasure that you've joined us. So for a couple of minutes, would you mind introducing yourself, telling us who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm not a Meadow. So this is how you probably know me on Twitter. Someone asked me recently, "Am I Twitter famous?" Because they sort of follow me on Twitter. I'm like, I think I am Twitter famous. So yes, I'm mostly known from Twitter and runs on Twitter. But what I do for security is hardware security and engineering. So I deal with the all sorts of problems from ranging from uh, supply chain security, so making sure that the devices you receive are still in the same state that the manufacturer or vendor wanted them, to getting and opening black boxes and understanding how they work and how they are being used for criminal purposes, for malicious purposes. And yeah, I'm trying to teach people stuff about engineering, about electronic design. I'm trying to spread the knowledge about how you design stuff like this, how you can get yourself into hardware security and hardware hacking, so to say.
Awesome. So wind back a few years. Tell us how you got into security in the first place. Where did you come from?
I did I okay, I would say my journey into security wasn't a standard one, as probably many of us have had different backgrounds before. My background is engineering as such, so I it wasn't a clean cut for me starting going from engineering to security. It was just slowly moving into this area of security, uh, because my job was always, most of the time, was about reverse engineering stuff, just for different purposes. So for example, if you need to make something work, you have to find out how it works, right? So this is your basic hacking.
Yeah.
um, then you have this thing that maybe the way it works is not secure, so you slowly sliding into the security of how things work by trying to find out how they work. So it, as I said, there wasn't a clean cut for me going from engineering to security. It just sort of merged together, and I don't think those words are totally separate. I think especially in hardware security, those two things are pretty much go side by side. Um, it's just that in the past few years, security uh, um, stopped being something very hermetic, very closed. It's encompassing more and more fields around us, and we are more and more aware of this problem called security. So I think that's what happened with me. So I didn't jump into security. Security sort of swallowed me and many other engineers, because suddenly we become someone who it's not only working on designing stuff, it's not only working on making stuff work, but also making stuff secure.
Cool. So how long have you been doing this job? How long have you actually been in security, Meadow?
I would say about 7 years,
Okay.
something like that. I mean, 7 years is when I can say that was strictly security. Before that, I don't want to say how much I was working, because I'm not the youngest. I don't want to brag about this, but
Don't worry about that. You're in good company.
it's been a while. It's been a while. So I would say that 7 years 7 years is the amount of time I was doing something that was strictly related to security, and before that was just security. Like, for example, you're working in a company that's working for manufacturing, and you're responsible for the manufacturing floor. You're doing automation for manufacturing floor, and you're doing software that's running manufacturing floor. And if you're doing that, you can either just make it work or make it work so that it's also secure, right? So before those, like more than 7 years ago, that was this kind of thing that I was doing, even though not being employed as someone working for security, strictly security. And to be honest, no one really gave a flying crap about security. A flying fuck, yes, thank you. That was always in the back of my mind that I have to do it in a good way, proper way. So yeah, I would say 7 years, and before that it was just like a mix and mingle of security and engineering.
So describe your average day at work. So is it kind of Meadow's got a soldering iron, or is messing with JTAG, or that kind of stuff? Is that the kind of thing that you do regularly, or are you kind of like a bit above all that stuff?
This is precisely what I'm doing day to day. So yes. So my day job, I'm blessed by not having to participate in many meetings, many calls, and I can basically focus on the engineering part of my employment. So yes, you described it quite well, that I have soldering iron, I have other lab stuff and JTAGs and all these fancy buzzwords, and this is what I'm doing day to day. So I would say that the job like this is sort of maybe a bit creative, in the sense that you have to. It's not 9 to 5. It's not a 9 to 5 job. 9 to 5 job. Sorry.
Sure.
Because it's something you are being given a problem and you have to think about it for a while. Like, you have a black box, you don't know what it's doing. You don't know what the purpose of this black box is. Black box is how it works, who made it, and you have to think about it for a while. So it's not something that you can start at 9 a.m. and finish at 5 or 4:30 p.m. and go home and then just think about something else. Your mind always works around those topics. So in that respect, it's sort of a creative job, because you're always thinking about this. You always think, and as I say, it's not something you can just sit on your desk and decide that I will have it done in 2 hours. No, maybe I will have it done in 2 weeks, because I simply don't know. I mean, part of my job is also what I would say static pen testing. So it's also evaluating security of hardware that is coming from vendors. So it's sort of similar to the mainstream pen testing, I would say. So you are being given a box, a device from a vendor, and the vendor says it's perfect, it's fantastic. Like, we take your security seriously, and then
bingo.
Yes, and then you find out that they don't really exactly do this, because they just suck at what they're doing. And this is also what I and my team are doing every now and then, because it's very important to always verify to what vendors are telling you, because they lie, because they simply lie. That's all there is to it.
Vendors lie? Vendors lie?
I know, right? Who would have expected? No, absolutely. Yeah, but that's how it is.
So, Meadow, granted, you've been in this field for 7 years now. That's a fair chunk of time to kind of answer this question. Do you think vendors are getting better, or are things stagnating, or what are your opinions on that?
They're not getting better. They're getting better at selling stuff. And I mean, I think this is the problem that we have with security provided by vendors, is that they as the group of vendors, this industry of selling security stuff, they have learned how to talk to C-level people, or what I like to call, and it's not pejorative, but Excel people. So they have a way of selling their products to people who will be signing the contracts and who will be negotiating and signing the contracts and then signing the invoices without skipping the engineering part. And that's the problem that we have at the moment, because it's sort of like a housing bubble, but it's not housing bubble, it's vendor bubble.
Yeah.
So we have many products who are extremely expensive, like the price tags I'm seeing on some products is like, it's incredible. How can you charge this amount of money for the thing that you're selling? But it works, right? So it is generating revenue for them. And the problem with this is that those products are not necessarily exactly bad, but they are not worth the money. But sometimes they're just plain bad. And the problem with this is that because the engineers are being skipped, not being asked about, or maybe you're being asked about, but no one listens to them anyway. So what's even the point of voicing your concerns? And then, but they are being given this product to work, right? And they have to, because the company has spent 500 million of whatever currency you want on this, and there's no way out. Now we have to work with this. So this is what I'm observing. Obviously the technology is moving forward. So vendors, we are all improving, right? So the people or the companies who are making those solutions, they're obviously getting better, because this is natural, right? We are moving forward. We're just improving the quality of software and hardware. But at the same time, they are not focusing on the stuff that's important, because it doesn't bring you money. What brings you money is selling buzzwords like blockchain, AI, ML, and what have you.
Oh
right?
yeah,
Quantum proof.
Quantum proof security.
hey, that's mine.
I know.
I've claimed it.
Full credit to you, Sean.
Absolutely. So yeah. So to answer your question, are the vendors getting better? They not in the way that I would like to. They are getting better at selling stuff, but not necessarily at delivering what they're saying.
So I've got a question for you then, Meadow. Back when I was a younger guy, I used to do industrial control solutions and PLCs, SCADA, that kind of stuff. And back in those days, A, I could fit into a suit, and B, nobody cared about security. It just didn't. It wasn't a thing. Nobody cared about it. Did the PLC operate the machine? Did it do the process automation that was expected? Yes, good, all good. So going on, 30 years, you see technology coming onto your desk and vendors supplying you with things. The question is, without mentioning the vendor or naming the vendor, what's the most criminal thing you've seen in terms of a vulnerability in a device or a piece of technology that you've assessed?
I don't. Okay, so let me put it this way. I worked in lab environments for a very long time. So manufacturing, lab environments, testing, those are sort of similar stuff, similar places. I wouldn't say this is something that has gone away, because it's still there. So every piece of lab equipment and lab or engineering equipment is not designed to be operated in a secure manner. So let me tell you, for example, that I have been lucky to operate a very expensive equipment for the past few weeks for a very known engineering company. And this equipment, when connected to the network, it has RDP on it with no username or password.
Oh, awesome!
And it's not something uncommon. It's normal. It's absolutely normal. That's why when you ask me like what would be the most critical vulnerability that I had I've seen, I thought that this is not, this is not vulnerability, right? This is just the problem that we have in this industry, because we as security, information security, tend to forget that there's a world outside our bubble, right? And
Yeah.
the world like very like next to us, because they are using this equipment that's running on Windows, even in Windows 10. It doesn't matter that this is recently updated Windows 10 if we have RDP with no username and password, right?
Of course. Yep.
And this is the device, this is the state of device that you're getting from the manufacturer. And nowhere in the manual, nowhere in any quick start instructions does it say, first of all, change the password or do something. Like, no. This is not something that people who are using those devices day to day are interested in. They want them to work. And I have to tell you, those are extremely expensive devices. But by default, everything is open, right?
Wow.
And we still have protocols that are being used. The most common one, I mean, at least from my perspective, the Skippy protocol, SCPI, that's pronounced Skippy protocol, which is just basically a socket alternate-based protocol that industrial or lab equipment uses to communicate with each other. It doesn't have any security on it, and it's still being used very widely used in most of the lab devices because it just works, right? So all the security of labs, of engineering, are just depending on perimeter security. If you break the perimeter, everything is yours.
Game over. Yeah, it's that idea around. It's not my phrase, this, but I'm just going to say it anyway. It's like plug and pray.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the idea of, whether it's IoT devices in the home or whether it's IP cameras, DVRs, all the stuff that we hear about that engineers install, and they get given a VLAN, but nobody talks about the VLAN in terms of segregation or any of that kind of stuff. But the camera system works, and you can see your employees walking around the car park and all that kind of thing. And that's it, job done.
Yep.
Because we talk about functionality and features, and does it work? Yes, it works. Fantastic. Let's all go home for the weekend. Wonderful. But nobody considers security. The vendor doesn't even consider security. So when they ship their cameras to you, I'm thinking of Hikvision and other manufacturers are available, admittedly. But they have hard-coded creds, or they have inbuilt wireless detection, so you can create your own hotspot, and then the camera imaging is all of a sudden on your mobile device. And they're not thinking about this kind of stuff. They're thinking about filling a van full of tech, go out on site, plug it all in, off you go, finished. And I think that's one of the big problems that we've got.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of those devices that I was talking about, so when I say the next phrase, some people will know instantly what I'm talking about. So the default username is always instrument.
Yeah.
And there are 3 manufacturers of those devices that are using this. There's always instrument user called instrument, and the passwords are on the websites of the manufacturers.
Yeah.
Because users don't want any friction in that. They spend, for example, £200,000 on this device. They want to plug it into the network. It has to work. No one gives a crap about security. So they would have to, every time they power it on, they would have to enter username and password. That's unacceptable. Like in the world, it doesn't exist. It's just not possible. Obviously, now we know, because with the solutions like Windows Hello, you can have passwordless environments, right? So you can have your password on a YubiKey. It's pretty simple, for example, to have a YubiKey to give to your employees and move the security, actually implement any kind of security. But it's going to take years. So if something, we are always, not always, but quite often talking how the IoT is the problem because people can break into IoTs and create botnets that will take down the internet. I'm saying no, because you just have to look for a lab, right? You have
Yeah.
so many devices with so much processing power.
Yeah.
That's the real danger here. That's the danger that we are not talking about enough. Mostly because those are also small bubbles like universities and development houses. They don't talk to security because security is not the problem.
Yeah.
But I think this is the far more dangerous problem than IoTs themselves.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. All right, Meadow, we've got 2 minutes left.
Oh God, that was quick.
It goes quick once you've had an IT blackout and you get back on your feet, things fly. But I want to ask, so we know each other, we've seen each other at conferences and it's always good fun. But what in 2020 are you going to be doing? What's your plan? Is it more of the same, or are you going to be doing more conferences, speaking, that kind of stuff?
Yes. So I'm looking forward to many conferences. First of all, with BSides Leeds. I hope I will be working again for BSides London, which means this is like the next 6 months of hard work. I'm planning on 2 big talks. One probably sometime mid next year, and the other one I hope maybe March, April. One of the B-sides that will be happening. So yeah, my plans always revolve around conferences and speaking at conferences and preparing talks, because this is what I like doing the most. I like to share the knowledge and show new stuff to new people and get them into hardware security, because we need more people in hardware security.
Okay, perfect. That's great. So Meadow, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you for bearing with us when we had our little tech glitch.
No, that just happens. Thank you very much for having me as well.
It's been a pleasure
Very
having you.
professional, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meadow.
Awesome, Meadow. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.